360 cameras are one of my favorite tools to use for capturing time lapses. And the biggest reason why is because it's capturing everything. So then later on, you can easily add motion and you can reframe that time lapse exactly as you want it to look. These are the settings that I recommend using with the DJI Osmo 360 for the best results. So first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you're in time-lapse mode. So you're going to toggle that by clicking down here. And then time-lapse on my menu is all the way on the right. You're going to click on that. Next, you're going to click down here at the bottom and you want to swipe up to set parameters first of all. So first of all, you want to select the interval and you can go all the way from 1 second all the way up to 1 hour. So the interval is simply how much time passes between each frame. So generally, if you were doing a daytime time lapse or a sunset time lapse, I recommend an interval of 2 seconds all the way up to 5 seconds. Now, if you're going to film a short time lapse, like by short, I mean an hour or two, I recommend the 2-second interval. If you are going to film an all-day time lapse, then you probably want to go even higher than the 5 seconds. I would do something like 10. But if you're going to do anywhere from like 2 to 5 hours, I recommend the 5-second interval. And if you're doing a really short sunset time lapse, like an hour or less, then I recommend doing 1 second, because that way you're going to guarantee you catch the peak of the sunset. And for the duration down here, I like to keep it at infinity. I don't want my time lapse to randomly stop. I want it to stop when I tell it to stop. But a little tip for this is if you are planning to do something like 2 hours or 3 hours, you can check the duration you're aiming for, and then you can look at the video duration here, and it's going to calculate how long your finished product is going to be. So if I do a 2-second interval at 2 hours, my finished product is going to be 2 minutes. But if I do a 5-second interval at 2 hours, my finished product time lapse is going to be 48 seconds. Now, of course, you can speed up time lapses later on, but this is just a helpful gauge to kind of get an idea of what the length of that finished product will be. So once we've set those parameters, you want to make sure up here in the upper left that it's set to 8K 30. You want to get the highest quality time lapse. You don't want to have anything lower than that. And then up here for the lens angle, it doesn't really matter with that because ultimately you can reframe later on. You are capturing in 360, so I usually just keep it at the default of wide. But a helpful tip over here that's going to help you save battery life is select screen off. And what that's going to do is after you start your time lapse, the screen is going to go off. It's just going to show red font on there that counts the length of the time lapse. I'll show you in a moment, but that's going to really help save your battery power, because if you have the display always on, the display is going to be like this, and this is one of the biggest things that draws down your battery. So I recommend keeping screen off. And speaking of which, if you're going to do a time lapse that's longer than a couple hours, you're probably going to need a power bank to connect to it to keep it powered, because your battery is only going to last maybe 2 to 3 hours while capturing a time lapse. So I have linked to one from Anker that I really love. I've used it for years on different cameras, but I've linked to it in the description below. It's a great value and it's very useful. So once we've set those parameters, we want to do the advanced parameters over here, and you want to make sure Pro is turned on. If Pro is not turned on, you're not going to be able to change anything here. So turn on Pro, and then under exposure, you're going to keep it set to auto, but there's a couple of things you want to adjust here. The first one, if you're doing anything where you're capturing the sky, anything with clouds, sunset, anything like that, I recommend setting the EV comp down to -0.3 or -0.7. It's going to help ensure those highlights don't get blown out. Now, in my experimentation with this, I have found that -0.3 gives very good results, so I usually set it at that. But then the other setting you want to change is the ISO range over here. When you're doing a time lapse, you want the ISO changing as little as possible, because when it does change, it's going to give those light jumps where the image becomes drastically brighter or darker over the course of one frame to the next. And you really don't want that. It's not going to look smooth in your footage, and you want the ISO to be as low as possible ideally, because that's going to give you the least amount of noise and grain. So I recommend keeping this set to 100 to 800. Once you've set that, hit the check mark there. And then finally for the white balance, I recommend manually setting this, because you also don't want your white balance changing during your time lapse. So if you're filming during the day, I recommend setting this at 5600K. If you are filming a sunset time lapse, then I recommend 6500K. It's going to help give you those really nice colors depending on time of day, and it's going to stay consistent. You're not going to have the colors changing on you. It's going to look good. And then once you've set the white balance, hit the check mark. And one other thing to mention, you do want to make sure your camera is mounted on a tripod of some kind. I use this little one from Ulanzi, which also doubles as a selfie stick. I'll link to that in the description below too, in case you want to check it out. I'll actually zoom out so you can see that here. One moment. So this is what it looks like right here. It's got nice broad legs like that, so you don't have to worry about it tipping over. I've had it outside on very windy days, and I have yet to have it tip over on me. All right, so once all of our settings are keyed in and your Osmo 360 is on a tripod, it's time to start recording. All you have to do is hit record right here. It's going to do a 5-second countdown, and then your time lapse is going to begin. And what it's going to look like at first is it's going to show the count up here. So this is going to be how long the eventual time lapse is going to be. But then, because we told it to turn the screen off, it's just going to show this. So you're not going to have the rest of the display, and that's going to save quite a bit on your battery power. And then when you're ready to stop your time lapse, just come over here and hit the button, and it's going to stop. And here's a quick demonstration of how I reframe this time lapse in the mobile app. So once you open the DJI Mimo app, you're going to import your time lapse. I've already got a sample one imported here that I filmed a couple weeks ago. And what you're gonna notice is right away, you can look wherever you want to in this, and you can reframe however you want to. So what I recommend doing, obviously in this case, I filmed a sunset, and this is looking in the direction of that sunset. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to find a framing I like to start with, and I'm going to apply the D-warp. I like that because if you look when I toggle it off and then back on, it removes a little bit of that fisheye, and it makes things just look even better. Before you're framing, do decide at the beginning if you're gonna do like a vertical for a short, or if you're gonna do that traditional 16:9, or if you want 1:1, 4:3, or 3:4. You wanna decide that first of all, because how you frame it is going to be impacted by that. So I'm going to go for a traditional 16:9, because I want to put that in a 16:9 production. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my starting point. So I'm going to have it start right about here, and I'm going to hit a plus, and that's going to add a keyframe. So then at that point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle through this, and I'm going to get all the way to the end, which really beautiful colors there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this go up like this, just so by the end it's focused a lot on the sky, and I'm going to click plus there. So now if we toggle back through this really quickly, you can see how it animates. And then down here at the bottom, there are some filter options that you can use. So you can make some adjustments. You can do a whole bunch of different colorations on here if you want to. You can select those. But I'm going to just go to no filter, because honestly, this was a pretty great looking sunset. So I'm going to keep it at that. But down here, you can adjust manually a whole bunch of stuff too. Like if you wanted to add some saturation, some vibrant, sharpness, vignette, a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm going to leave it as is because like I said, I really like it. And then at this point, I am ready. I'm just gonna do one final check. I am ready to export. So what I'm gonna do up here is where it says 1080p, I'm going to click there and I'm going to toggle this all the way to the right. I highly recommend exporting your finished product in 4K. It's going to look really good. And then I'm of course going to keep it at my frame rate that I started with, which is 30. For the bitrate, I like to do higher, just because it does make it look a little bit better and it does have more details, and I just like how it looks. 10-bit color depth, I definitely recommend turning that on. And then I also recommend turning on noise reduction. That's going to really help smooth out a time lapse, even if you weren't doing it at nighttime. Just during the daytime, it's gonna help make it smoother and cleaner, and it's gonna look really good. It is going to take a little bit longer to export, but it's worth it in my opinion. And then at this point, we're going to go up here and we're gonna click export. And if you'd like to see the settings that I recommend for capturing the best night lapses with the Osmo 360, check out this video right here. In addition, if you'd like to learn more about how to get the best results with the Osmo 360, check out this playlist right here.